this movie is maybe the most fascinating cultural artifact that we've ever covered, at least since I've been on the show.
He wanted Vance to originally title this book My Struggles.
That's cinema, baby.
Running a temporal pincer movement. A what? Pincer movement. But not in space. In time. Sniff all off my thing up. No. See action on it. Sniff. Running a temporal pincer movement. Sniff all off my thing up. No. What?
This is DJ Curly Q Brown back with you at 10Q Radio for another installment of the embarrassing podcast, The Good, the Pod, and the Ugly. Today, the boys take on Hillbilly Elegy.
Woo! From 2020.
From 2020.
I'm your host, Ken.
Oh, Ken, he's the smartest person I've ever met. Probably smarter than any person in this room. Forks! What am I supposed to do with all these forks? Thomas, I'm playing the role of JD Vance.
I'm Ryan. I'm your co-host, Ryan.
And we're doing, this is season 17. We're doing a 4x4. This is part 2 of our third director in our 4x4, which is 4 films by one director, picked by 4 of us.
It's a lot
Ron
of
Howard. We covered Grand Theft Auto last week. Round of applause for that. Whoa. Man.
I'm not doing that. Yeah, no.
And then this week we're doing a Hillbilly Elegy. Ron Howard's 2020
masterpiece,
vilified Oscar bait adaptation of then just a regular fella, J.D. Vance's memoir of the same name.
Yeah. Then politician, now Darth Vader, J.D. Vance.
Well, last week's movie, Grand Theft Auto, and this week's movie, Hillbilly Elegy, have a few things in common.
All right.
Tell us more.
They both have cameos by Cheryl Howard, because she's in every one of her husband's movies. She's the reporter at the wedding, and then she's Nurse Vivian in Hillbilly Elegy. Both have radio broadcasts, just like both of our last episodes. Both have junky cars. Both have people filling up at gas stations, and both the mom is arrested. Ooh. There's theft in both. One, people are stealing cars. The other one, Joe Montana sports cars.
He steals a car at one point in Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah.
Well, his mom stole it.
No, he steals his grandma's car. His mama's.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, both have cops in them. Both have women who drive fast and angry. They both have people speeding or driving while talking on the phone about their motives in the film. Both have bad parents who become better. Both might have horses. I don't know. Were there horses in Hillbilly Elegy? It seems like there should be, but I'm not going to rewatch the film to find out.
There was a dog?
Both have rich white people who are out of touch and are a point of ridicule in the film. And both people get kicked out of their home because, like, in Hillbilly Elegy, there's the newlyweds in the back of that season 3 Arrested Development log cabin on wheels. They get kicked out of that home, and it's tragic in Hillbilly Elegy. Both have fist fights, and both the protagonist leaves their upbringing behind to fulfill their dream.
Both of them are terrible. Both of them are directed by Ron Howard.
We're not at reactions yet, Jack. Jack, we've been doing this for years now.
I was just trying to add something to the list. Sorry, I thought you might have forgotten.
They were terrible. In 2020, we also watched. I watched this in theaters. Tenet.
Yeah,
and covered it on the podcast. And Days.
Oh yeah,
during our last 4x4, right? Slow cinema.
Yeah,
your pick, Jack.
Hell yeah, that was a great year, wasn't it?
Was this your first time watching Ryan?
Yes. Yeah.
Was this your first time watching Jack?
Yes, first watch.
I know the answer to this, but I'm curious how many times you've seen this, Ken.
I had vowed to never see it again as long as I lived, and this is not for political reasons, for other reasons entirely. And fuck you, Jack, for making me rewatch this. Although the second half I watched at 1:25 because fuck it, life's too short.
So what drove you to watch it the first time?
Okay, I'll be honest. For like a decade plus, Amy Adams was my hall pass Hollywood girlfriend.
Yeah,
I thought she could do no wrong. So she was in this movie. I didn't know anything about J.D. Vance. at the time it came out.
Okay.
It was like an Oscar bait movie. Ron Howard makes Parenthood, so maybe there's some diarrhea song jokes. I don't know. Then I watched it, and it was the end of my love with Amy Adams. It seemed like a spell had been broken, and all I could see is Amy Adams acting instead of just inhabiting a character. And yeah, this movie really ruined a lot of my 2020. I mean, 2020 had some minor things going on. I don't know if you guys remember, but this was definitely the worst for me.
Yeah.
Not to get your reactions yet.
A lot of
other than American Sniper, I don't think we've ever had a more morally objectionable film that we've covered on this podcast.
Okay, well that's a bit of a reaction that I don't agree with. So we'll get into it at the end of the episode, where reactions belong, gents.
In Thomas's contrarian corner.
So, wait. This is also my first time watching. Just to make sure we're all talking about the same film. There's only one of this film, but which version you watched? Did you watch the version that was on Netflix, or did you watch the unrated couch sex cut that is hot theaters to release?
No couch fucking.
I watched whatever version comes up on 123 freemovies.russia.computervirus.net.
This I was surprised that this is a rated R film at some level.
Oh, really?
Isn't it?
Language has to be language.
Well, language and the content. There's a lot of.
Is it not rated R?
No, it is.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I feel like the MPA whole rating thing kind of goes out the window in the age of streaming. Like I wouldn't have ever thought of this as an R-rated movie, just in the same way you wouldn't think of anything, especially during 2020 when everything was coming out on streaming and not having theatrical.
Well, don't they have to have a theatrical release to get an
inside.
Oscar nomination?
I don't know if they did for 2020, because remember they had that weird ceremony in early 21, the Soderbergh ceremony. That was the Nomadland year. Right?
In fact, this movie made $38,852 at the box office.
Wow.
Was there just one ticket for that much and Ron Howard bought it? Or Peter Thiel bought it? I don't understand that.
The streaming laws or rules at the Academy changed. I don't think in 2020. I think it was like 2021. Well, no, because Nomadland won. So, yeah, maybe it didn't matter for this.
Yeah, just like the empty stadiums when Tom Brady won his 6th Super Bowl. Come on, do that with stadiums, fucker. People anyway.
Post-pandemic, the Oscars have gone back to requiring a qualifying theatrical run, but that was probably suspended during the pandemic.
So are we having this discussion because this movie won Oscar or was nominated?
Yeah,
or
it was certainly an Oscar play. I don't think it was nominated.
I don't think it got any nominations aside from Raspberries and like Saturn.
Yeah, that was the thing everybody mentioned. Was it just seemed like an Oscar bait movie. I don't think that gets close to this movie's problems.
Glenn Close was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which must be why she did the butt.
I'm sorry, what?
Telecast.
She did the bud?
Did the what?
The butt.
Glenn Close did the butt?
Yeah, Glenn Close and Spike Lee. Obviously, you guys didn't watch the Soderbergh directed Oscars, but Glenn Close and Spike Lee did the butt together.
What are you talking about?
What cold medicine are you on, man?
The butt is a dance from a Spike Lee movie. There was even a music video and a song doing the butt. It was a parody song.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Log into youtube.com and search Glenn Close and da butt with the D-A, and I swear to God, it happened at the Oscars. It was an incredible moment of cinema. Also, look up the original music video for the song Da Butt, because it's still funny.
So you want us to look up Glenn Close Da Butt right now?
On youtube.com.
Pausing the podcast.
Not in Google.
So Ryan, you were talking on the group chat a little bit about JD Vance and Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a little background of that before we get into this book that he wrote that turned into this.
Oh shit! Did you do a book report? Did you reread the book as well?
Reread? No, I wouldn't read the first time. Jesus Christ. Yes, and it's part of why I think that this movie is maybe the most fascinating cultural artifact that we've ever covered, at least since I've been on the show. So J.D. Vance was born and raised he was born in Kentucky, raised in Ohio, as we find out in this movie. When he got out of Yale Law School, he got work for Peter Thiel's venture capital firm in Silicon Valley. Peter Thiel is the guy who runs Palantir. He made all of his money as an early investor in Facebook. And he's famously the Silicon Valley exec who has blood boys. So he gets transfusions of blood from kids in their 20s fairly regularly to help keep him young. He also is a major financer of the alt-right and culture on the alt-right. Red Scare, some of the other notable things that have come post-pandemic out of the right wing, he pays for. So he gave Vance a job. And then at some point he picked Vance and a guy from Arizona named, I think his name was Blake Howard. And they were both molded to be eventual political candidates. And amongst other things, Peter Thiel encouraged Vance to move back to Ohio and set up his own venture capital fund so that he could run for Senate in the state of Ohio and also, open this fund that was going to bring tech jobs to Ohio, quote unquote. And he and Blake Howard both ran for Senate, I believe, in 2018. And it might have been later. It might have been 2020. And Vance won and Howard lost. And that began Vance's ascent to where he is now.
So this brings us back to one of our first 4x4s, John Frankenheimer's The Manchurian Candidate.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, yes, Peter Thiel is very clear about his hard right-wing political motivations. He is a Orthodox Catholic, which J.D. Vance converted to Orthodox Catholicism.
Yeah.
And Vance's whole back to blue-collar jobs and good lives for white folks is all kind of part of Peter Thiel's ultimate plan. And I believe that Peter Thiel encouraged J.D. Vance to work with a ghostwriter on the book as paving the way for his eventual candidacy. So I think the Manchurian Candidate thing is not too
for sure.
out of whack.
Yeah, Peter Thiel, absolutely. I know he's listening in with his Palantir Saruman communicating with Sauron thing. It could probably kill me by zapping me with a Tesla coil or whatever. Absolutely one of the most reprehensible humans alive on the planet right now.
Yeah, and he
guy.
wanted Vance to originally title this book My Struggles.
It sounded better in the original German.
Yeah, so a good group of fellas behind this whole project.
Well, I think so. If we're going to talk about history or context, I think that Hillbilly Elegy was part of his plan to become a political agent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was popular. I don't think that was, unlike the single ticket that Ron Howard bought to the screening of this film. I don't think that Thiel bought all the books. I think it was a very widely read book for a reason that touched something for some part of the population.
But
that was all marketing though.
This is also why I think Ron Howard ended up making this movie. The book was seen, it came out in 2016, the end of the Obama era, and the book was seen as a way for liberals to understand conservatives. So I think a lot of its readership was actually, Sorkin liberals, and I think that's what caused Howard to make the movie.
That was a great way to pivot to that elite liberal audience, is to do it through a book, because they're the only ones that still read, apparently. Amazing marketing, really, if you think about it. Planting seeds.
I remember at the time I listened to a lot of political podcasts, and I remember them all ranting for multiple episodes about this book and JD Vance.
Ranting in what type of way?
Thomas, did you?
Like ranting in
As
praise
liberals, like critiquing Vance's critique of America, you know, like the type of stuff that would make Vance popular on Fox News.
Well, and I would love to get into that maybe a little bit later in the episode of what his view of America even is, or what he's even trying to say thematically. But Thomas, did you read the book? Have you read the book before?
No, I haven't. But
Okay.
the person I live with did.
Wow.
Because the person she was living with prior did.
Oh.
No.
Interesting.
But it was a platonic relationship, and like mine with my present roommate / wife. We totally do the sex. The with each other. But no, she read it because her roommate at the time had read it and recommended it, and it my understanding is that this would be something that the NPR audience, like Ken said, literate people might read, and not that conservatives don't read, but the type of conservative. But this would be something that I would think a large conservative audience would read. They would be largely uninterested in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they're living it. This is an accurate portrayal of their lives.
Well, yeah, I think the conservative. I think that the conservatives who would come close to reading it would be the ones that Vance doesn't feel like he's part of at Yale.
Right. That's a great way of summarizing it. Howard incidentally claims total naivete to Vance's political motivations, even though when the book came out 2 years before he started making it. I don't know, man. When Vance came, and maybe I'm just too plugged into politics, but I feel like everybody who read this book recognized that, oh, this guy's trying to make a political career, because it's what Obama did, you know.
But it was a bestseller, and I think from Ron Howard's point of view, because he's like one of those people. He's been in Hollywood. He's been successful for so long. He probably thinks a banana costs $10. How much can it cost? And then and for him, not to get into reactions, I don't care reactions. I hate this fucking movie. But for him, he is making a movie about poor, lower class people,
right?
Based on the book, without like going and touring some areas,
without having,
for instance, two people in their own houses on their own street that are 3 stories with enclosed porches. Oh. Such poverty.
Yeah.
How can they do this? And that's the main problem with this movie. And I think given the story, not necessarily the structure it's written in, which is fucking terrible, or the actual dialogue, which is fucking terrible, that a good director who comes from this place, like earlier David Gordon Green, could do a story like this, and I bet it would be effective. Because he understands those people and would actually go to those places and do it from their point of view and not from Ron Howard's point of view, which is like enclosed porches, just one? Oh my God. How?
But I think to that point, a director of that caliber would not have taken on this project in the first place.
Because the fucking structure is so terrible. Neither story comes to any satisfactory climax.
So
narrative conclusion.
let's work up to some of those reactions so that we can justify them.
What else do you want to work on, Thomas?
Does somebody want to explain the dual narrative plot?
That's what's wild is that I think there's
someone do the kid and someone do the adult.
I think there's even more than that, because there's this whole section which is a montage that fills in the gaps between the two whenever his grandmother dies, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially two dual narrative. Two dual narratives.
Well, Ken, you've seen this twice.
So,
do you want to do the adult or the kid?
I'll do the adult.
The adult, and by adult we mean Yale Law School.
Yale Vance.
Juror number 1. No, I'm sorry, not juror number 1. A suspect in juror number 2.
Yeah, and also he's the lead character in Night Agent, the 3-season smash hit on Netflix. Speaking of which, go to our sponsor this week, Netflix.
Where you can get a discount code for the music from the original Netflix film. Hillbilly Elegy, also available from the Noble County Library. Hans Zimmer and David Fleming.
Really?
Yeah. But let me give you the track list, just so you get a sense. Some of this is really fucking bad. Transformation, which is the end titles. Rust, Kentucky 1997, We Respect Our Dead, Suffocating, Bev, Resignation, Old Wounds, Responsibility, Ursha, Steel in Our Veins. So,
that's making me relive the movie. I'm having
PTSD. It's kind of like the plot of the movie, right? Yeah.
That's great. So we have we have twin stories. One, you got old JD Vance, not old JD Vance, but looking for an internship in Yale. It's like, I don't know which fork to use. I gotta call my girlfriend. How do I eat if I'm not using my hands?
There's no fried squirrel on this plate. Where's all the roadkill?
These shoes are hurting my feet.
And so his whole story is, I've got this big second interview with this internship that's going to pay $100,000. Relatable. And then he's, my mom's had an OD, so I have to go back home and take care of my mom. And then get back the ticking time clock to the second interview, where in a world where they don't have airplanes, by the way.
Well, you probably can't afford it, Ken.
I think it's laid down $3,000, and she didn't go into the rehab clinic, so all that $3,000 is still on his credit card. The plane ticket couldn't cost more than $400.
Where's he going to leave his car? I don't know. I could have directed this movie better, and I know that I would have driven if I was in his shoes because of the money.
Well, I would have just said, "Mom, you're going with me. You sit in a coffee shop while I'm doing the interview. Problem solved."
Yeah, but when you're at the gas station, you're taking a pee or something, she's going to drive off with the car.
Yeah, Mom, crazy. I can't trust you out of people's sight. So you're going to dress up as me. I'm going to feed you my lines.
That's a better movie. And then they could just cut through them driving, and every gas station, he's complaining to the gas station. Oh, this gas station Wi-Fi, it's so terrible.
I didn't realize the gas stations presently had Wi-Fi, and I'm not sure that they do.
They never did.
And this is like in the teens, right? This is like Jack and I were in grade school.
Well, that's part of the movie, that it doesn't seem to understand how the real world works, and it keeps putting in frustrations and things like that seem like, in my Letterboxd review, Ken Coral, Letterboxd, I compare it to Tommy Wiseau, where there's a lack of sense of how the real world works in individual scenes that is so off-putting, and that's just one of many. Pick a scene from The Room.
So is his childhood chronological? Because he flashes back at different times, including to when his mom, I think, is strung out and like reaching back behind herself, and that's a shot that will repeat towards the end of the film when she's not refusing rehab and is in the hotel and he has to leave her as an adult. But I think that some of the film might not be. Do you think it is, Ryan, chronological as a kid?
Yeah, I think it's two parallel linear narratives.
Okay.
And it just cuts back and forth between the two to attempt some sort of dramatic cohesion.
There's also the moment where Amy Adams, I guess, reprises her roller skating role from a television series.
So fucking terrible. Scrubs?
That would have been a flashback between those two periods, right? Or I know that she gets strung out and like she's out on the street and the grandmother's like, don't look, and she's getting tackled by the cops and maybe given Narcan or something.
No, I think it's all chronological. I didn't get the feeling that anything was sort of
there's the montage at the end where he's crying, and it goes through different periods, some of which aren't in the movie. To its credit, I guess one credit I'll give it. That's the only time that it jumps around.
I'll say that I think that this is a fantastic looking film, and definitely the best looking thing that Ron Howard's ever made, just from a cinematography.
I can't agree with that necessarily because I haven't seen enough Ron Howard, but it's lensed by the same person who did The Wrestler.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't.
You get beautiful footage of Appalachia, and there's a lot of good framing.
It's so inaccurate. Again, they're driving by places, and people are, guys are sitting on their porches out their shirts drinking and waving, but there's no overgrown grass. There's no 500 vehicles and washers and dryers in the field. I've been around this stuff.
Well,
I've worked.
she's not making the film.
No,
She
but
didn't
that's
write
what the movie is trying to do. Like, oh, look at this. These poor people. They
Okay, well, I mean that you're. Is it though? I don't fully know. I do know. Okay, so I know the conflict for the adult is family versus job interview, right?
Mm-hmm. It's an identity crisis because he is ashamed of who he is and where he's from. That's why his fiance doesn't even know that his mom's a drug.
But the secret of the story is that that's what makes him special.
Right.
He's of both worlds is what the narrative of the book, I'm sure, is trying to convince us. But in the narrative of the movie, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, at the end, when he tells his girlfriend about his mom, that is the thing that fuses the two parts of JD together. And then we're to understand that he goes forward in life as a whole person and not.
But he's by accepting his past.
Right.
He can excel in the world of these liberal elites.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think one thing that's missing from the older Vance storyline is callbacks to younger Vance, because we get two scenes almost back to back as young Vance, where young Vance, he's painting Easter eggs. They're not cascarones, but they're like, they blow out the eggs so that they could decorate them for their grandmother's Easter tree. I'm not too sure, but it's a nice family moment. And he gets a dog, and that dog pisses, and then he's chasing the dog, and he's a klutz, and he knocks over the tree and destroys what his mom considers her heirlooms.
Yeah.
And then the next scene that we see him in, like he mopes a little bit about magic cards and maybe they're demonic, who knows. But then it's the football card scene where he, like, as a klutz, like, runs into the stand, right? And the guy yells at him, and so that's why they decide to steal the cards. So I would have loved, like, adult JD, like, adult JD Vance being college JD Vance, grad school JD Vance, to I don't know, try and, like, pull the tablecloth off to show off, and just, like, knock all the silverware and everything else off, or stab somebody accidentally with, like, the stem of his wine glass. Just something a little bit more to call those two worlds. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that scene in the card shop, because do you know the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like the old Scooby-Doos? And, like, they're running and being chased, and it's like a painted background, but then they pass, like, a door, and you could tell, like, it's actually animated instead of a background, so you know it's going to be used or it's going to open. The card stand and the way the shot is framed functions as the same purposes as that animated door. The second you see it, what's happening, is it going to fall into it. It doesn't matter what they're saying or they're talking about, and that's part of the direction that feels Tommy Wiseau, or like a Christian movie. Like, every scene's kind of set up to make a certain point, and people talk in ways and act in ways that they don't really act to get to that point.
This is very much in the mold of 1517 to Paris, as far as how it's told.
Don't be dissing my boy.
Huh? I love 1517 to Paris. I was the one who liked that movie the most.
Yeah, that has charm because it's like if JD Vance actually played himself and his mom played his mom, then it would be 1517 to Paris.
Yes, that would be an more interesting film, probably. Again, you brought up a Christian film, and I think one of the things that I think would have helped me better analyze this film at some level would be if I had watched Lifetime films, because this feels like maybe a Lifetime movie just for potentially a male audience versus a, like, professional female audience or a stay-at-home mom audience.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Because I think that they have, like, similar themes where that person, it's odd that the JD Vance character is kind of the center of this universe, because I think the more interesting story is, like, if we got to see his mom's life or his grandmother's life.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And the entire time I was watching this with my spouse, she said, why the fuck is she with him? Like, what does she get out of this relationship? Meaning his girlfriend, JD Vance's girlfriend.
Usha,
Mm.
his soon-to-be wife.
Yeah.
I think you guys are bringing up good questions about the film's narrative, abilities when this is like a piece of propaganda. Like J.D.
No, I
Vance
don't
wrote
know
it.
that.
Oh, okay.
I
think-
watched a film, but I don't know.
Okay.
And I hear Ken saying that there's intentions behind it of like wanting to depict a certain reality that Ron Howard doesn't know how to portray on screen. But I don't know for sure if that's what Ron Howard really was going for, because he wouldn't have that in a Lifetime movie.
I don't think he
Well,
knew.
I don't understand this Lifetime comparison, I
Okay.
guess.
I think he made this movie because Solo had kind of been a disaster and he needed to win. He needed to make a movie every 2 years, kind of the old Clint Eastwood ethos, where he has a team working for him and they need to be working. And there wasn't much TV going on at the time. And a lot of this is just like pieces fall together. And I know he worked a little bit with Vanessa Taylor, the screenwriter, but given the end result and the fact that she does good work elsewhere, Game of Thrones, Shape of Water, I don't know what they did. I can't imagine reading this book and saying, okay, let's make this book and not go to the places and talk to the people, because then that would give you a completely different idea of the world you're trying to
But that
portray.
you also might have certain legal requirements to stay true to the book or true enough to the book. I'm not 100% on that. I haven't read the book, but I do think that the book is written as a closer to what I would say a Lifetime movie versus a gritty understanding of.
Well, no, I'm saying if they had filmed it in real places, like take Twilight, if they had actually filmed in Spoons or Forks, what is it, Washington?
Yeah, they
where it
filmed
takes
in
place.
Forks,
If
Washington.
they had actually filmed there and gone to the real locations, it wouldn't have looked right. So they movieized it, and this feels like a movieized version of a book. Which, if you read the book and go to the actual places supposedly in the book, and I think a lot of this book and movie is pure fiction, it would look and feel completely differently, and that's why there's no sense of being lived in, and that's why it seems so sanctimonious and ivory tower, West Coast liberal, whatever you want to say, view of people who are poor. It's very, very pious. It's heinous. It's morally objectionable, indefensible, whatever.
I think of it as propaganda because, and this is what I think makes it so fascinating. I think Vance wrote the book and was excited about the movie coming out to elevate his political career. And I think Ron Howard was trying to paint himself as a sympathetic. I think this is an ego stroking thing for him as well, where he's the sympathetic liberal who's going to show the other liberals like that these are really humans who live in Kentucky and Ohio. These aren't, the monkeys that we always talk about them being. These are real people with real feelings and real drug problems.
Yeah, but most liberal people live in places either there or adjacent to there, and that's the problem. Another problem.
Yeah.
Is it there's too many liberals?
No, it's just that most, working liberals, middle to lower class liberals like myself, I live in those places, and nothing about Hillbilly Elegy looks like places that I've been to or lived at various portions of my life.
Right.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's like Epcot Center, Hillbilly Street.
When I described this movie to some friends this weekend, one of them was like, I mean, it sounds like bad Gummo. And that's really, I think Gummo is one of the better versions of this movie as far as what it's trying to say about Ohio and Kentucky.
I love Gummo.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking like, oh my goodness, what's Buck Rogers versus 2001 Space Odyssey? Like, yeah, one seems like more like a space sci-fi movie than the other one. It's a strange comparison to my mind, but I do think that to your point, I think that Ken would have appreciated more of a Gummo aesthetic.
Yeah, both movies are poverty porn about small working class towns in Ohio, post-industrial towns in Ohio, made by people who come from there. Obviously the book was written by Vance. Howard's not from there, but they're both trying to capture like a sort of spirit of the place. And they're both very exploitative, but Gummo's just a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not 100%. That's the thing I don't know for sure is whether or not this movie is trying to capture the spirit of the place.
It definitely is not.
And so
again,
if it's not, then we can
what is it trying to do?
Then we could critique it for not doing that, but we can't critique it for not doing that because it didn't.
The whole premise of this movie is like, you've never met a mom like Amy Adams and a grandma like Glenn Close. Like, but this guy really has them. Come, turkey neck at him with us.
Yeah, and it like the Ron Howard movie we talked about last week and the other ones that I watched. It seems weirdly wholesome, despite all the things we know about the drug use, multiple men and whatnot, and humping couches, for instance. None of that even gets close to this movie. It, like Thomas said, it feels like a Lifetime movie, like made for TV. Like it's not going to go so far to make you think that someone might do something really bad. You always feel like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, because I don't think conservative people want to watch, people shooting up and shit.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a true story. I don't buy it for a fucking second.
Well, no. I think even if these events happened, I think that that Vance wrote the narrative to cast himself in a good light and elevate his career. So I don't know that.
Many of his family members said, yeah, it's a little exaggerated, not quite, but it's all good because he's the vice president. So what else are they going to say?
And before he was vice president, he was a senator, and that would have been around the time that this movie came out, right? Is what we're talking about.
Yeah, he announced that he was going to be running for the Senate while Howard was filming this.
And at the time, many people saw him as a counterbalance to the MAGA movement. Right?
Yes.
Historically,
exactly
right? Like he was against Trump being president.
Yes, but I think liberals, he's always had a very jingoistic philosophy. I think liberals, based on this book and this movie, thought that he was something other than what he's always touted himself as being,
Well, a lot of liberals do think that poverty is a choice, which is one of the big themes of this movie.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is work hard. Remember that the montage with him working at the grocery store, and he's like carrying these big boxes, and he looks over, and there's like some untowards with long hair. Is this 1969? What the fuck? Yeah. And they're like slap assing and whatever, and it's like they're never gonna make it because they're not willing to put their head down and work hard and work on that calculator that Mama got for them. It's insidious to insinuate that the only reason Vance got out is because he was willing to work hard, and it's a choice for those people to stay back where he came from.
Yeah, I agree.
It's such an ugly thing.
There,
I had a bit that I was going to do about that, but I only have one of them now. It was hang on, I'm going to cut all this out. Don't worry. If he made some other remakes where the victim was made to be the author of their own sorrow, like poor people, it's their fault because they don't want to work. All you do is work hard and you get out. So I had a long list, but the only one that I like is 12 Years a Choice.
Oh, shit.
Wow. Reel it in, Kanye. Reel it in.
No, that's how I feel about this movie. It makes me so fucking mad because I love the cast. I even like the kid. I know you hate him, Ryan. I like Night Agent. I don't know. I
think everybody but the kid is doing a good job in this movie.
I don't think Night Agent's doing a good
for the
job.
entire movie, and I don't think Howard does a bad job directing him.
I got excited though because my dyslexia read Bob Hoskins as being in this cast.
Oh yeah,
but it's Bo Hopkins.
Yeah, who is that?
I don't know. Here's one of my issues with it. It might touch on either of your issues. As I was watching this, I was like, oh shit, is this 8 Mile? I've seen this movie already. And I think that this movie at some level is saying, you know what? White people have problems too.
Yeah.
And I just don't, especially there's a moment where like that, there's almost like that's our word thing where they're at the they're at the dinner, it's an interview, and he says redneck, and he's like, we don't really use that term anymore.
Yeah.
We don't identify with that term anymore. And so I do think that with hindsight, there is a sense of white nationalism in this film from that perspective. But I don't think it's apparent in the text of either probably the book or the movie without that hindsight. It's only today, looking back, that we look at this film and how we're able to read those things into it.
Yeah. I think that's something that makes it such a fascinating cultural object. Is I don't think that Howard, I would be surprised if he didn't know that Vance had political aspirations, but I don't think Howard certainly didn't know he was making like a film about the rise of a crypto fascist.
I know, but you look at the material, take away the outside stuff and just the story. And I don't see how anybody could not see that there's something wrong with this that is unfair to a large portion of this entire country.
Oh, for sure.
I don't understand. And I guess that's my problem with Howard is he doesn't. I mean, it's the Clint Eastwood thing where he just finds the character and he's like, oh, yeah, I can play that guy. And then Ron Howard, I think he's looking for, I don't know what he's looking for. Maybe we'll figure it out after 2 more movies. I'm going to watch a bunch more before them, but I don't know what he looks at from this and says, oh, you know what? This is a Ron Howard movie. This is a Ron Howard movie. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think this might be a balm for your wounds, Ken, but there is a great documentary. It's maybe 45 minutes long that I saw in at college, and it's called Stranger with a Camera. And basically in the late 60s was when it was under the LBJ administration that America at large discovered the poverty in Appalachia. And a bunch of film, people like Walter Cronkite went down there and did stories. There's an iconic picture of a bunch of little kids eating dirt. That was like part of a news story that was published at the time. And a couple years later, a Canadian documentary shows up in Appalachia with his camera, but he's doing an experimental documentary just about different parts of the world and the beauty of the natural world. So he pulls up at this guy's house with his cameraman, and the cameraman starts filming. And before anybody can make contact with anything, the guy who lives in the house comes out and shoots the dude with a shotgun and kills him. And Stranger with a Camera is a film made by the murderer's granddaughter about why her grandfather would do something like that. And it's an indictment of poverty porn. It's a defense of her grandpa. It's like a really interesting movie. And it's a lot like this. It's like, sophisticates come down gawking, looking for something, bringing what they want to portray about this place.
Yeah.
And it's not lived. It's not part of the nobody's trying to actually portray Appalachian culture accurately.
I guess the hard part here, and maybe I'm just coming from a different audience, and you're completely right for the general population. But the gawking, I don't think the emphasis is on the gawking, which I think it's on the difficulty that's being overcome by J.D. Vance, because I think the gawking wouldn't have as much direction towards a seeming win at the end for this character that has the ridiculous ticking time clock in the film.
I think that most people who are quote unquote self-made, whatever you want that to mean, I think to their mind, their story of persevering against struggle is fascinating, like this one. And this one in its cinematic form, it really isn't all that interesting. Like nothing really dramatic happens. There's no rap battle.
Right. Yeah. That is 8 Mile does have that.
Nobody goes totally nuts. Even Amy Adams' totally nuts scene, the camera's all like, I'm gonna move it around because there's some crazy stuff happening. but you never really feel it, even when she's like shooting up in the bathroom. I don't know.
You know what I would have liked? If this was a little bit more like Armageddon time. And it was the kid having that moment of maturity in the situation that he's in. And if it even ended with like a TI-82 being purchased for him, it would be great. I guess it's probably like a TI-84 or 86. I don't know. But it also, I think, doesn't he have like a Game Boy Color and Magic cards? Unless he's stealing all that stuff, it just seems like he could have bought the thing that he needed.
Thomas, I'm really glad you brought up Armageddon Time, because what I loved about that movie, why I think it's fucking great, is at no point does James Gray, the writer director, think that the kid in here, or make like the kid in here, this kid's going places. There's never a moment where it's like, oh, that's the Spielberg origin shot. It's just a story about a kid who doesn't know what's going to happen next. And the problem with a movie like this, especially the way that it's structured, is that there's never any doubt. The kid, I mean, no matter what happens, you as the viewer, you always know that it's going to end up okay. And I just narratively, it feels like a dead end to me, because I don't fucking care.
I thought it was fine. I mean, it was. I know I said it was terrible earlier, but it wasn't that bad. I mean,
no, it's terrible. There's a scene where they, like she slaps him and then he runs to the lady's house, and it's like a very dramatical scene. And I had to stop it and write this down, because it sounds like low budget Christian filmmaking or placeholder writing, where the lady's like 1135 County Road. Like they barely even did much to change 12345 County Road. It's so generic. Nothing about it feels specific. It just feels like general, generic poor people.
Ron Howard, I'm seeing here on the Wikipedia, describes the movie as being about Vance's upbringing and that survival tale. So for him, it's like a tale of somebody who had it real rough and made it out.
But it's also a story. I mean, it's a story of having to say of parting, right? And I think it's one of those interesting things in life. There's a sociological book called Street Corner Society, where one of the things that keeps that has a culture of poverty is that people are generous with each other and help each other out, as opposed to being selfish and fucking other people off to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's an interesting conundrum that this film doesn't. It has the Lifetime movie solipsism of, well, I'm just going to leave and that's my win. I have to take care of myself, and everybody has to take care of themselves and have self-care, and ignoring like systemic problems. Because I think the hard part of this film is that there's no concern for any larger context for what's going on. There's a mention of, at the dinner table, J.D. Vance, like, no, there's not really people doing mining anymore. They all left for industrial jobs. Those people aren't in the community anymore.
That's not exactly true.
Well, I mean, that's what they said in the film, right?
That's what he says in the movie.
But basically, like, there's no more jobs. And they do an interesting, like, opening cut between whenever the grandmother is first coming to town and going to this town that's vibrant, to them returning from the family reunion and the kids' present day, and things they're not as bad as they will be when J.D. Vance comes back from college, but things are on the decline because there aren't jobs anymore.
Yeah, things we're led to believe that when Maymon Papa moved to Ohio, there was a promise of a better life than they had in Kentucky, and then obviously that has dissipated by the time we see those people in those places.
And really, the Kentucky connection, other than Kentucky being the best state because Ken's in it. Okay. The whole thing about being from the Hill people, it doesn't really add too much to the story. I mean, it's not really even necessary unless they briefly talk about where he's from. But in the context of the story as a hermetic whole, narratively, it doesn't really have any hold on any of the characters at any time in the movie.
Well, I was really confused by that because the movie starts with him getting beat up and almost drowned, right? And then an adult punches a kid heroically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that is taking place in Appalachia, right?
Yeah, and then they go home.
And then they go to Ohio, and then the rest of the film is in Ohio and college.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just like, oh, I thought this was about
Hill country.
Yeah.
They talk about it enough.
Well, yeah, but it's also, Middletown is very close to Kentucky. So
yeah, and the thing when older JD Vance, night agent, is coming into town and going under that bridge, it's like fucking Stalker going from the real world to some weird post-apocalyptic fantasia. And then when he goes out, it's the same shot, like going through a tunnel, going through a portal. It's a different world. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
You picked it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, one interesting thing that I got from my research from reading The Boys, not the Garth Ennis graphic novels.
Also readable though.
Oh yeah, that I'd recommend. And I think it's the final season on Amazon.
Yeah.
Our sponsor this week. The first Andy Griffith. Before the Andy Griffith show was already kind of greenlit, but they did this thing. It was kind of like a handoff. So instead of having a pilot episode because it was already greenlit, they wrapped that show into another show that was really popular and then launched it. Right. So I don't remember what the show.
Gomer Pyle.
That he was on. Wasn't Gomer Pyle on Andy Griffith?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they spin-off.
Okay. So this wasn't quite a spin-off. This was more they're introducing characters in another television reality to then create their show immediately thereafter. So whatever this other show was, they stop in the town of Mulberry, whatever the town is in the Andy Griffith show. That lead character does. And that's when you first meet Opie and his dad, the sheriff played by Matlock. And then from there, boom, then you have your series right afterwards. But it was a way of introducing television audiences into the show through a little mini episode. Does this make sense?
Sort of.
Okay. So, so the main show has something that's set in the world of the show that will be its own series immediately afterwards. And so the television audience is like, oh, now I know who that sheriff is. I know who his son is. I know a little bit about that world. I'm going to watch this show next week when it airs. Anyhow, that first episode, Ron Howard's character Opie has a turtle that's been injured.
Oh.
And that's like his whole scene in that episode is that he brings in an injured turtle. And so I'm curious if there's an injured turtle in the book. Or if Ron Howard's like, what would really make this kid empathetic? Turtle. So that's some research.
I wish I could do a Ron Howard impersonation. I would do an Arrested Development bit about that. Meanwhile, JD was busy at the swimming hole where he found a new friend. That wasn't bad. Yeah. Thanks, Jack. Can't wait for next week, which is the Cocoon. Not the Cocoon, just Cocoon.
1985's Cocoon. And we'll pair that with 2006's The Da Vinci Code.
Jesus fucking Christ. Woo. Exactly. Thanks for all our conservative listeners for tuning in and listening to this very unbiased, fair and balanced discussion of JD Vance's what's the movie called?
The Hillbilly Elegy? Man, this is very much a night record.
Yeah.
I guess Peter Thiel, if you're listening, Jack and I are about the right age. We haven't aged out yet. If you need Red Boys.
Oh, and if you're interested in some new VC opportunities, hit us up about PanScan.
PanScan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great. That was great with your new voice, Ryan.
Thank you.
Can you do a new theme song in the style of Lou Rawls?
I'll look into it.
All right. I'm not joking. Thank you, Ryan, for the theme song, by the way.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Thomas, for the show notes.
Woo.
Thank you, Ken, for the editing. Thank you, Jack,
can
for
cut that
putting
out.
us through the last 3 hours of our lives.
You're welcome. Anytime.
I didn't enjoy watching these movies very much, but I'm glad for the experience. So
It was more fun talking about them than it was watching them. Thank you, guys.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some value in that. Yes.
Yeah, these are definitely second screen.
Running a temporal piston movement. Messing it up. Yeah, piston movement. In space. Time. Running a temporal piston movement. Messing it up. Yeah, piston movement. In space. Time. Running a temporal piston movement. Messing it up. Yeah, piston movement. In space. Time. Running a temporal piston movement. Messing it up. Yeah, piston movement. In space. Time. Sniff all messing it up. Yeah, sniff.
Just a regular fella. Enclosed porches, just one? It's like Epcot Center, Hillbilly Street.
We totally do the sex.
The butt.